Hey everybody, Brooks here. Thank you for taking time to join me for today's 5 for 5. Hope your day is off to a good start so far. So I want to ask you a question. Here's one for you to think about. Most of you that watch this are probably a part of our church family, First Baptist Church of the Islands. Others of you, you're part of another church. So ask yourself, when you think about involvement in church and a church-wide ministry, if you could only pick one aspect of that ministry, which aspect would you say is most important? Which would you choose? In other words, would you choose strong worship, strong fellowship, prayer that is healthy, that is vibrant, maybe strong discipleship or strong missions and outreach? If you could only choose one, which would you pick? And I know that's a hard question, but here's the thing. If a church has strong worship and even strong preaching, but it has no prayer, really all you've got is performance. There's no power that's behind it. If a church has strong discipleship and people are growing really deep in their relationships with Jesus, but there's no outreach, there's no missions emphasis, no missions focus, if that's not a priority, then basically you're going to have a lot of people in the church that are knowledgeable, but the community is going to be so far from God and nobody's going to be trying to even reach them. If your focus is to be strong on fellowship, and having unity together and enjoying one another and doing life together, but there's no emphasis, say, on worship, then basically it's just a club. It's really, the church is no different than any other organization in its community. You have to have all of those things working together. So I know it's kind of an unfair question, but in a lot of ways, we as churches, if we're not careful, sometimes really focus on one to the neglect of the others. Well, here's the thing. When you look at the early church in the book of Acts, chapter 2, listen how they are described by Luke when he wrote the book of Acts. It's in chapter 2. Let's begin in verse 22. It says of these early believers, they were continually devoting themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. It goes on a little bit further, and it says all of those who had believed were together, and they had all things in common. Verse 46, day by day, continuing with one mind in the temple, breaking bread from house to house. They were taking their meals together with gladness and sincerity of heart, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord was adding to their number day by day those who were being saved. So here's the emphasis. For those believers in the early church, they placed a priority on all of those things. They placed a priority on discipleship, on worship, on preaching and teaching the word, on unity and fellowship, on missions and outreach, on prayer. They did all those things. They were equally important. No one component was more important than the other, and they all worked together to be ultimately a light in their community. And in all these churches, as they emphasized all of those components, the church reached the culture, and the culture was drawn to Jesus. Hey, listen, you may be bent more in one direction than another. Maybe your emphasis is a little more on prayer, or maybe you're one of those who loves to hear preaching or engage in worship, or maybe you're all about fellowship or discipleship. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. But just remember, it all exists in balance. And we want to be a church who ultimately does all of the things that the early church did well, so that we can reach our community, reach our city, and reach our world for Jesus. And you play a part in that. You help us to be that kind of a church. Hey, listen, what can you do a little bit differently to add to the mix, to let your life be used by the Lord to reach someone else for Jesus? And wherever you have a heart, man, let that be something that ultimately inspires others as you pursue Christ and as you pursue a world that is far from Him. Hey, I hope you have a great day today. Share this with somebody who might be encouraged. And we'll see you back tomorrow for the Tuesday 5 for 5. God bless you.